regret, the meaning of his life itself. This is his Larry, Asher thought. For him, she was everything. Then he hugged Larry and said that he would definitely return to her, to his Larry. In the afternoon, Larry was at a tea party with friends and Sherry. The princess looked at Sherry meaningfully, and then Sherry apologized to Larry for the fact that last time her request was inappropriate. Larry casually replied that she forgives her, but she thought that she was asking for forgiveness only because of Eliza, and her words were absolutely insincere. Sherry was angry, thinking that it was only because Eliza was on her side that this commoner was acting so arrogant. Genevieve decided to defuse the situation and asked if they were now thinking about investing in gold or jewelry, since their value had increased. The girls continued to have a nice conversation with each other, but only Sharia remained displeasedly silent. She wondered if they couldn't see that she was angry. Sharia assumed that the girls were supposed to console her, but instead they continued to talk. The butler came to Larry and said that Duke Candle had arrived. He said that she could take her time, since he would be waiting for her. Then Larry was about to say that she would go, when suddenly Sharia stood up abruptly and said that she would go away for a minute. Her stupidity is even funny. Juana said that they understand that the problem with Lady Sharia needs to be solved. She said that she cannot be forgiven for her antics all the time. Eliza thought that everyone knew what happens to an aristocrat who is expelled from a lady's circle, and Sharia didn't make any big mistakes. She's so generous. Therefore, Eliza said that she would talk to Sharia again and asked her to forgive her for this trick for the last time. And Eliza invited Larry to take her to the carriage, and at this time Sharia ran to Asher. Of course, Asher was not at all happy with her. Sharia thought that this commoner had rudely refused her favor, so she did not intend to endure anymore, and she told Asher that she missed him. Of course, Asher didn't understand this at all, and Sharia thought that no one could resist her because she was so beautiful, the most beautiful flower of the empire. Sharia thought that she had already sunk into the Duke's soul, and asked if the Duke also missed her, right? She said that she wanted to meet him again and even asked Larry about it, but she refused. The girl continued talking and said that Larry was probably just worried, and then Asher asked what she was talking about. She started stroking his hand and said that she was talking about the relationship between her and Asher. She asked if he hadn't thought about it. She's probably just jealous because she won't be able to be with Asher, because she's a commoner. He won't be able to marry her. And of course, she doesn't even dare to think about a relationship with her friend's lover. But since he will break up anyway, the situation takes a different turn. Sharia thought that if he wants to date her, he should rather break up with Larry. Asher in the end could not stand her nonsense, and brushing off her hand, asked what kind of nonsense she was talking about, and that there was no talk of any separation. And Larry is not a commoner. Asher asked what she was thinking when she called the only ducal princess in the empire a commoner. Sharia only now realized that Larry was the Duke's daughter, and Asher said that even if she were a commoner, he would still never part with her. He said that they will be together for the rest of their lives if she wants. So if she continues to talk nonsense, she should cut out her chattering tongue. Sharia now understood why he is called a monster and fell to the ground. Asher then recalled that he told her not to call him by his name, and Sharia called him a monster. But then the princess ran to them and asked Duke Escher for forgiveness on her behalf, and asked to let her go this time. Sharia didn't understand her because she was a princess, so she shouldn't humiliate herself like that in front of him. She didn't understand how noble Eliza was. Asher accepted the princess's apology and told her to take her away from him. And when he turned around, he saw Larry, who had been watching them all this time. Larry was really angry about Sharia's behavior, but when she heard Asher talk about a long-term relationship, she wondered if he himself had signed a contract for a 3-month relationship. She had conflicting feelings. She thought he agreed to this, that they would just have fun for these 3 months, and then they will part calmly and without regrets, which is why she behaved so casually. This is a complete misunderstanding. Now it seems as if she was playing with Asher all this time. He realized that she was too frivolous. She was worried that when she would tell her that it was all a big misunderstanding, Larry wondered if he would treat her with the same harshness as he treated others. Everything that Asher said about betrayal made Larry feel bad. She wondered if he would swing his sword over her in the same way. Unable to bear it, she ran away. And Doha was in his office, wondering where the old man had noticed his mother. They could not cross paths. Doha continued to dig for information about Hybral, but he could not find how he could be related to his mother, or maybe they met before his elevation to service, Doha thought, although there was no such thing in the reports of his mother's movements. Doha followed his mother and received regular reports, not because he loved her, but because he was interested in how well she healed after selling it to the temple. But a few days ago, the reports about her stopped. Doha realized that in order to find out his mother's connection with Hybral. However, he immediately discarded this idea. He thought that there was no need for this. He should not visit the person who sold him. Doka remembered the day when his mother betrayed him, how joyfully she hugged the bag of money along with her son. The little boy continued to scream and ask his mother not to leave him. He promised that he would obey her in everything. He shouted that he would raise her and earn her a lot of money himself. The child begged her not to leave him, but then he was brought back to reality, asking if he was okay. It was Larry. She asked if anything hurt him. Doha replied that he was fine and asked Larry why she used the stealth skill without being accompanied. Larry was silent for a while, then asked Doha to help her. Then she explained the whole situation to him, and she asked if she should just tell him the truth, that she considered this relationship to be just a 3-month contract. Asher must know the truth, except that she is terminally ill, Larry thought. Neither she nor Asher are in love with each other. They just have mutual sympathy. She spent so much time with him and still cannot understand such a simple thing. She decided to carefully end their relationship before the feelings deepened. It didn't matter even if these 3 months had not yet passed. Doha then asked what she would do if the Duke wanted to continue this relationship. Larry replied that this could not be because she would immediately go on a trip. Doha said that if the Duke thought that he had been betrayed, he would definitely not be happy. And Doha asked her to tell him if something happened, and he would definitely come to the rescue. Larry went outside and thought about how much her head hurt, and she was walking too slowly. This is because she used the stealth skill for too long, which means it consumes more mana than she thought. Suddenly, that same crazy guy came up to her, greeted her, and asked her to quietly walk with him. However, Larry was not yet completely exhausted and was therefore able to use her magic against him. But in reality, the situation was bad. Even if she was in good shape, it would not mean she won. The strange guy said that he did not want to hurt the lady, and again asked her to quietly walk with him. Larry thought that Doha was right. Now is the right time to harm others to protect herself. The abnormal continued to talk about Larry's strength and confessed his love for her, while Larry, meanwhile, used elemental magic against him. And then she decided to run away, because, as that weirdo said, she lacks experience in battle. Larry noticed that there was no one on the street. As if this place had been specially prepared, she ran into the corner and hid behind the boxes, while the guy continued to follow her. He said that he did not dare to harm his mistress, and he still needed to take her to her family. Larry hid and hoped that when he left, she would immediately run to the temple, which was nearby. She wanted to call for help, but suddenly the crazy guy was able to find Larry and said that apparently they were destined to be together. Larry was caught again and handcuffed with an anti-magic effect. Larry wondered why they were doing this to her. She said she would live her life doing what she wanted before she died, so why not leave her alone? And then that crazy guy came to her and asked if his mistress was okay, and Larry asked who ordered her kidnapping. Did the Duke Blanche do this? The guy asked if she called him father, but agreed that he was not the best father. The guy said that the poor lady incredibly grew up so capable in that terrible place. Larry screamed why they weren't at Blanche's estate, and the guy replied that Duke Candle would definitely find them there. He said that they needed a place where they could be just the two of them. He would like to propose to the lady. The madman invited her to live with him, run away with him, and they would live happily together. When he said that they would have strong children, Larry hit him on the head and took the keys and ran to open the cage. But as soon as she managed to open the door, the crazy man hit her on the head and then threw her to the ground. He took out his sword and said that she was constantly trying to escape, and therefore she simply left him no other choice. Larry begged to help her, said that she missed Asher, while Asher himself wondered why she was acting so strange. He began to feel how she was slowly moving away from him. He thought that he had probably done something wrong. Asher was worried that he was already tired of her when Gerard ran up to him and told him that my lady had disappeared. Gerard reported that she left the estate using her stealth skill because he personally examined every place where she could go, but did not find her anywhere. Asher thought that since she was nowhere to be found, It means that the Blanchet family could have kidnapped her. Most likely this is so, because they had already kidnapped Larry before. Escher ordered a carriage to be prepared so that everyone would head to the Blanchet estate. This was already enough of a reason for their destruction. Escher decided to get rid of them. Arriving at the estate, Duke Blanche shouted, "Wasn't he the one who took Larry from him then?" Escher replied that she had disappeared again, and the Duke asked if this was the reason why his people were making a mess here. The Duke was angry and shouted, "Where did that girl go?" Escher thought. Judging by his reaction, he really wasn't involved. Escher wondered if Larry really wasn't here, and looked at his subordinates, who showed signs that she wasn't here. The Duke hit Escher on the shoulder and said that he had turned over the whole house with the knights and never found her. Escher waved his hand away and told him to hope that he really had nothing to do with this disappearance. Then the Duke became worried. The Duke was worried that things were not going according to his plan, and Escher ordered his knights to return. Escher began to worry that Larry had left him because lately she had been acting really strange. Or maybe she just couldn't stand him and ran away to a place where he couldn't find her, or left because she hated him. But it didn't matter to him. He said that he would never let Larry go. He believed that she could not run away without saying a word, and then Gerard came running and said that he had found traces of her on the side of the old city. But let's return to the crazy guy who asked if the sorceress would get along without one leg. The crazy man said that either she would lose her legs or he would cure them, and they would live happily together. Larry thought that the only way to heal was to release the mana, but there was simply no more mana left. And even if she was cured, she would not be able to win due to lack of strength. She wondered if she would even be able to escape with such legs. Larry thought that she had to survive. She needed to tell Escher something, and also completely clear the curse for the sake of his happy future. Poor Larry dreamed of seeing Escher and promised him that he would return alive for his sake. But then they heard a noise, and the guy picked up Larry and said that they needed to run away. He was angry because he didn't understand how he found her. And then he understood why her mana was gradually running out. Then he began to strangle her, calling her a traitor, and continued to talk nonsense about living together. The guy said that since she had enough mana for the entire journey, it means that she has an incredible amount of it. Meanwhile, Escher and his knights were killing everyone in their path while they were looking for Larry. And then the crazy guy appeared on the rock with the wounded Larry, and the guy said that he still managed to find them. "So it turns out that the demon of war wants to become a prince on a white horse," the guy said, giggling. Escher ordered him to take his hands off Larry, but the guy put a dagger to her and asked if he wanted the lady to be safe. If so, then let him not move. And then he whispered to Larry that as long as she did not rock the boat, he would not harm her. Then Escher asked him what he wanted, and the guy replied that he should give them all the documents. Escher immediately ordered Gerard to do this, and then the guy said that he wanted to get out of here without any obstacles, and Escher replied that he would do so if only he would let Larry go. And to ensure this, the guy ordered Escher tied up. Larry started crying and asked Escher to leave. She literally begged him to leave. Only Escher did not listen to her and told the madman that he would not hold back if Larry suffered even more. The guy replied that he should worry more about himself and added that it was very funny to look down on him. Larry started screaming and begging him to leave. She screamed that it was all her fault. And it was just her troubles. She began to blame herself, saying that it was all because of her limited time. She did not receive care from her family. Escher misunderstood their relationship, and now that she was kidnapped, he was in trouble, and again screamed at him to leave. But Escher didn't move, and Larry wondered why he didn't just leave in another situation. He would have gotten rid of everyone long ago. She wondered if it was because she was being threatened that he was ready to give up his hand for fear of harming her. Then she picked up that dagger, thinking that Escher was not a fool. But for some reason he was ready to do such a thing for her sake. For her sake, Larry wondered why she was so angry. What was the reason for her resentment towards Escher? Either because he wants to give up his life so easily, or because he didn't listen to her, even though she asked him to leave. She realized that everything was completely wrong. She was angry because she loved him, angry because he was the one whom she loved and did not value her life. He is ready to senselessly sacrifice his life for the sake of a terminally ill woman. She thought that he would also be angry with her, but still hopes he will not harbor a grudge against her. Having first apologized in her thoughts to Escher, she plunged the dagger into herself and then apologized out loud. And since she was standing on the cliff, when the guy let her go, Larry fell straight down from the cliff. Asher immediately ran to catch his beloved, but Larry thought that her time was limited anyway and asked him not to be angry. The reason why, she pretended not to know Asher's bad side, hid her illness, and insisted that she didn't love him. It was concluded that she really loved Asher because she was in a dream without knowing the whole situation. That's why she kept telling herself that she didn't need to love Asher and that he didn't love her. Larry thought that this was their end. Poor Asher was in shock. He continued to call her and hugged her. Asher wondered what to do. He blamed himself for not being able to protect her. He asked himself if this happened because he couldn't let her go. Or is it because he is a monster, he craved what he was not supposed to have in the first place? Asher thought. But he himself understood that he simply could not let her go. It was too late to return to the time when he did not know her yet. His lover, his savior, his Larry is now dead, and his anger can no longer be stopped by anyone.